Hi, friends, it's Heidi M. I have another interview for you, and this time I'll be speaking with multidisciplinary artist Julie Phan. She is from Toronto, but also is based in Montreal here in Canada. We're going to be speaking about her show Never Walk Alone, which is a show that explores the day in the life of Honey, who is a dancer in Montreal, that gets her world rocked after a mysterious phone call from her estranged mother at the start of her shift on Christmas Day. So, this is a solo live performance piece that sort of mixes pole dance and theater. Through the show, we are again following Honey, who is trying to deal with her workday while she's juggling memories, angst, and other scenarios that come up on Christmas Eve. Never Walk Alone is Julie Phan's attempt at a heartwarming Christmas tale. And we're going to be speaking about her show shortly. I just want to mention that Never Walk Alone is a co-production between the creative studio PNSenvy or PNSenvy in its inaugural production and a Fujian Theater Company, one of the longest running professional Asian Canadian theater companies in Canada, and it's in association with Buddies in Bad Times Theater, which some of you might know as the longest running queer theater company in Canada. So I'll leave you with my conversation with Julie Phan. Hi, friends. I am joined today from Toronto by multidisciplinary artist and performer Julie Phan. Julie, thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for chatting with me and giving me a bit of your time.
My pleasure. I think for some of us, we might be new to your work. I know you are based in Toronto, Montreal, and you're making waves in performing arts. So tell us a little bit about your start in the arts and your history so far.
Yeah. I'm from Toronto originally. This was where I started writing for theater when I was 15.
Mm-hmm.
And that is also when I had, because at the time Tarragon Theater was running a the Young Playwrights group out of high schools, and so I was lucky enough that I was able to do that, and that sort of led to me doing my first production when I was 17 through the Toronto Fringe. At the time, I was kind of tossed up between doing what I knew what I wanted to do, which was pursuing my uh, I say passion, but I think really my need to express myself artistically, or being a doctor, like my parents wanted me to do.
Yes.
And so for a minute there, I thought I was going to do both. But I mean, I think for most artists who know it's a lot of work, and so just trying to get all of that um, done
Mm-hmm.
um, for the first time also, and being um, in school also. it I realized I was exerting, I think, maybe too much energy on trying to do something that I knew really wasn't for me and in my heart. And so that's when I made the transition fully to being an artist. And um, at the time I was in Montreal and attending McGill University. I dropped out and switched to theater school. And sort of continued my relationship with the theaters in Toronto that I'd started
Mm-hmm.
connecting to.
That's right.
Yes.
So I think you've been connected with Fujian Theater as well, and before you started your group as well.
Yes. Fujian has been connected with me since I had done that first show. I'd been contacted by David, um, just asking if I would do the show again
Mm.
that winter for their season as part of their double bill, which was uh, kind of blew my mind a little bit, I think. At the time, just because I had invited him to the show, but also I don't think he was able to make it to that Fringe production because I believe he was quite sick.
Mm-hmm.
I had followed up asking for the script and I had sent it over. And I think that was sort of like the initial, oh, I think I'm actually not bad at this and that there's something here for me and others see the value in what it is that I'm trying to do, even when I didn't,
Mm-hmm.
because I wasn't supposed to. I was supposed to see
Mm-hmm.
myself as a doctor.
That's right. And I think that's something you tackle not only in that first French show, but it's something you I've noticed in your story that in your biography that it kind of keeps following you around. So the idea that a lot of us who are come from immigrant families always kind of have this duality to us and what's expected versus what we really want to do with our time and our lives and our talents. So your talents have brought you now to theater, and again, you're coming back to Toronto with a performance, and the title is Never Walk Alone, but I want you to set up the performance so folks know what it is we're going to be experiencing later in the month.
Yeah. So in addition to being an artist that and my parents don't really like that, I also work as a stripper for the last couple years and this is something that they didn't know about uh,
Mm-hmm.
kind of until recently, and we still haven't really talked about it. Um, and that's been interesting, but I think the show itself addresses less of that and more just that period right before of they don't know, but do they know?
Mm-hmm.
Um, what will they think? But I wrote the play, I think, before I had ever started dancing, and I think it was hiding theater, which was this really big part of myself. And I think ultimately it's about hiding parts of myself that I knew and could feel that would not be accepted
Sure.
um, by my parents, who I love very much.
Mm-hmm.
But in I think it's as much as protecting myself, but also protecting their feelings by hiding
Mm-hmm.
everything that I know wouldn't make them happy. Um, but I think what that sort of results in is becoming like a bit of a shell
Mm-hmm.
of who you are, and that for the last couple years, I feel like I haven't quite um, been all there, even when I have been there,
Mm-hmm.
parents. And so I think bringing it back to what I was mentioning before, it's interesting that um, they found out and it wasn't good. Um, but also, um, ultimately, I don't think they wanted to lose me
Yes.
because they do love me. And so we haven't talked about it. But it's strange because even in this weird limbo, we're now closer
Mm-hmm.
uh, than I think I have been with my parents for like over 10 years
Mm-hmm.
now. Um, yeah, so I think what Never Walk Alone is it deals with these sort of projections that others have onto um, who you are.
Right.
Um, that is explored, I think, in the context of the relationship with the parents, but how that also mirrors in the club space and of people entering, having maybe preconceived ideas of who you must be as a dancer working at a club. And
Mm-hmm.
also to some extent the other way around, with some dancers being quite judgmental of the clientele that come in, and that whole um, feeling of not engaging in good faith and um, what happens when you actually see each other for who you are.
Mm-hmm. So kind
That
of
what
dropping a bit of the facades in a way.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Uh, I think it explores what we project out, what others project onto us, but also what maybe lives underneath that we're trying to protect.
Right, right. Okay, I understand. Yeah, and it's also like these layers, right? Like we're all walking layers of different things. What people project to us, what we think people want us to be, due to that projection, and then exactly who we are, or we think we are, depending on the day. Right? And I was, thank you. In your notes, you had mentioned to me that this has been a work in progress for a while, and it's been almost like a 6 year journey.
Mm.
And as you just said earlier, you started to write it before you were dancing. And so, when did it become apparent or clearer that you wanted to incorporate this as you wanted to make this a performance based show?
I think I had started pole dance around the time when I had started writing the show.
Hmm.
And I think it was because I had found the spark in pole dancing that felt similar to the spark that I felt in theater. I really wanted to bring the two together. And it was a bit of a process trying to figure out exactly what that was going to be. I wrote
Hmm.
many first drafts of
Sure.
this. Um, and I think I was thinking about what it could have been for about a year before I'd even written the first draft.
Hmm.
It was through Paprika Festival actually that I was able to
Yes.
get the support to write the first draft. And Daniel Carter, who was there as GM, made the transition to Buddies and had brought along this piece to continue its development
Hmm.
at a time where I was like, I know there's like something here, but I don't know what. And it was very messy,
Hmm.
but he still, I think, saw something there that really, I think, just felt encouraging for me to continue digging deeper into. I think the biggest script discoveries I started to make was when I had started dancing
Right.
uh, at a club, just because I had all of the experiences that I could draw from. But also when I started working with Matt McGeechee, my dramaturge, who was really able to uh, just see everything that I threw at him and like that.
Hmm.
Um, and he was the one who actually made the discovery, I think, for me that because I had this story from working at the club.
Yes.
Um, and that story had existed in a couple of drafts, but he had made the discovery that I think that story is kind of the frame for the whole piece, and that sort of helps. Um, I think clarify some things, set us in a clear point in time, but also contextualized everything
Hmm.
in a way where it's starting to make sense.
Yeah, and I think it's the importance of dramaturgy and having another person also kind of give you that insight.
Yes.
It's so key, right? I hear that from artists in theater all the time. Let's talk about the movements because it is a performance piece, but there's actually movement. So, as you said, there's pole dancing and there's an actual character. We're going to be following Honey through this journey. So, when did you choreograph movements? What was that discussion like in terms of with your director?
Yeah. So I am working with choreographer or have been working with a choreographer for this piece who has also been partnering with me in the show also for a couple of years now. Um, his name is Nate Gerber. He's also my partner. Was also which also contextualizes some things also because he was around when I first started working at
Hmm.
as well and was doing a lot of the emotional work of processing like am I ruining my life just because bad things happen like does that mean like the whole of it is bad and just sort of helping me discern through everything I was experiencing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think most of the choreography, other than I think maybe some beginnings of pieces are choreographed, but for the most part, they're freestyle.
Okay.
Um, because that is it's typically what I do at the club, but it's also because it's such an involved show. Usually at the club, it'll be an 8-hour shift, and I'll dance maybe 3 to 6 songs in a
Sure.
night,
Mm-hmm.
uh, which is a chunk of time, but it's also spread out
Right,
over.
over the few hours. Mm-hmm.
So because this is an hour show that we're trying to squeeze about 5 dances
Mm-hmm. That's a
to,
lot.
it is. So it's also to be able to really be able to check in with myself to see what I can or can't do to,
Mm-hmm.
I think, mitigate risk of injury, but also what we were working on designing in the choreography was more of what is the feeling of the movement other than beside like what is the feeling of the movement and not quite like what are the movements exactly.
Yes. So it
And
doesn't
that
have to be precise. Sorry to interrupt. So it's not that it has to be precise, but it's more that you are evoking that emotion.
exactly, yeah,
Gotcha. Mm-hmm.
because I think as the character is quite guarded and standoffish. Even as she's sharing things, she's not fully sharing things. And so, what's interesting about the movement is that we're able to maybe get a deeper look at her state or how she's feeling without necessarily needing to use the words to
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
communicate.
Interesting. And I know you're in the middle of rehearsing, so thank you for making time of to speak with me. I know it's a lot of work, physically and psychologically speaking. So you're working with Tawai McCarthy this time around, is that right? But you've also connected. You've known him for a while.
Yeah.
What's that history there?
So I was working, no, I wasn't working. I was doing the YPU as I had mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
And I was 15 and they had us come in once a week, every week, basically doing this writers group where we were bringing in new drafts and working towards um, a week-long intensive development period where we got um, to have our drafts read by professional actors for the first time. What they had also provided for us during that period was bringing in guest artists to come in and
Mm-hmm.
share their work and to answer some of our questions. Uh, I couldn't make it to the week-long intensive because my parents didn't want me coming in from Mississauga every day. So I had to join by Skype. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. I was gonna say R.I.P. Skype.
I think it was today that I saw the news that
I
they've
saw it
both.
very late last night. Yes.
So I had Skyped in. They had sent me a draft of his play, and we were reading it uh, together. Uh, and I think it was a new. I didn't know theater could be that,
I see.
and well, because I think we know like middle school, high school theater typically. Well, at the yeah, commercial musicals,
Yes.
um, Shakespeare.
Very traditional. Yeah.
Yes. Um, so I think what was cool was that we got the opportunity to read the piece as a piece of work, but also to meet uh, the person. Uh,
Mm,
and he was so lovely and so cool. And um, yeah, I had seen him around then in the years to follow, but didn't actually get to connect with him until and that was, with the work of Daniel,
Oh,
who had
right.
asked if I needed a director for the workshop, and suggested some names, and Tewia was one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he made it happen, and he agreed to do it, and um, has stuck around. I mean, stuck around past that first
Mm-hmm.
workshop. Uh, and sometimes I'm still surprised. No, because I love him.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I've been
Very
really grateful.
talented person.
Oh my God. And like me, really?
No, I'm just saying that because I'm in awe of his work, but I think it goes to your point of like people are seeing something here, and I think it's important that you said theater could be this. And I think that's also something that I like to reinforce to audiences that you can experience art in many ways, and it's not always going to be in a theater where you just clap when you think you need to clap, and reacting to what you're seeing on stage is okay. So for this piece, because it's very personal, even though we're seeing it through the character of Honey, how do you what works for you in terms of your audience's response? Do you want us to, kind of be emotive? Yeah, what is the energy that you're hoping for in terms of people that come to see the performance?
It's a really good question. Because um, I don't really have an answer.
That's fair.
Um, because I really, I don't know. I think I believe in people just like being where they're at, and coming in and experiencing the piece however they need to.
Mm-hmm.
They never really know what the response is actually gonna be.
It's true.
Usually I find out after through email or DMs on Instagram. Although like I do really love just getting the chance to chat with people after shows.
Mm-hmm.
Even as tired as I am, I think it does mean a lot to me
Yes.
when it actually hits so hard that that's something that people feel compelled to.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just to that point, I think I'm open, and I also hope that audiences who come in feel open as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also that because part of what we've been trying to do with this project as well is pushing out a lot of high quality online content.
Mm-hmm.
through,
You have great
Uh,
stuff. You on your Instagram. I'm just gonna plug it in right now.
we had invested a lot of time in filming these beautiful videos by my DOP Alex Chung, and photos that were captured by Felice Dad. That I think I think in thinking about making work in 2025, and sort of the question we have of like where are audiences, or why aren't audiences coming back?
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's something to be said about trying something new. There's something to be said about, I think, just putting enough out there, or investing in audiences as much as you want them to invest in you. And so that means sort of giving them more stuff. Because my hope is that if people resonate with the images and the videos that we're putting out, that they be drawn to want to come to see the show in person or experience
Right.
it.
Mm-hmm.
Especially knowing that we're hoping that the show has a long life, and that we'll be able to do future iterations of the show in Toronto and also elsewhere.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Um, that there's this sort of area where they can connect to the work even when it's not on stage,
Right.
and maybe even connect with some of the other people sort of floating around or hanging around. And I think I'm trying to build a brand, but also a community
For
through.
sure, for sure.
Mhm.
And that makes sense because I think that's the world we're living in, right? Whether
Yeah.
you love or hate the use of social media or digital platforms, we're not getting away from it. I mean, look at you and I, we're in the same city, but we can connect virtually because it's convenient for our time and, and space. So, and I do believe that sometimes it is about, sure, building your brand, but I think in building a brand, there is that's building community because the word brand is just we use it because it's what the lingo is in that world, but I think it really is about people getting to know you as much as you can be your authentic self online as an artist, right? Because you're also working as an artist and giving us a little bit of yourself and your art at the same time.
Yeah.
I do enjoy the content online. I was catching up on that today, so I'll link it so people know where to go. I wanted to ask you, so Never Walk Alone is actually going to be at Buddy's Bad Times. I want to make sure I say it so I don't forget it. Starting later this month, May 21st. And it's part of this GENREFUCK group with, so there's two performances. And how do you, what is it like to be part of this really neat programming that Buddy's has this year and kind of having two young theater makers be part of that?
I think it's been very exciting. Because it kind of forces a conversation where when you have two sort of dynamic solo
Mm-hmm.
pieces presented together in that way, that though they were sort of conceived separately and they're each having their own conversations, I think presenting them together creates the interesting new opportunity to sort of, if you've seen the first one and then you see the second one,
Mm-hmm.
the creation of some sort of discourse
Right.
between the two. So I'm really excited to see Augusto's work.
Same.
Yeah. Um, because I've been living with this piece for so long too that
Right.
I think it will also allow me to maybe think about my work a bit differently
Oh, I
as well
see.
by
Mm-hmm.
having that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also been a bit of do I want to say challenge? A bit of a challenge, I think, in we had ideas about how we wanted to create the piece as a immersive strip club sort of experience.
Right.
Um, and so it's opened new sort of creative solutions that
Mm-hmm.
we hadn't even considered
Okay,
before
that's good.
in lieu of in foregoing that for this version of
Right.
the play. Um, so that included introducing projection design, and that's an aspect that I'm really excited about. We've been working with video company
Mm-hmm.
to sort of film and develop that aspect of the show. And that was also a bit of a chance encounter too, because they do the Simonovich uh, videos, and I had met them after David had won, and I
Nice.
and I'd gotten a business card from them. And when we were discussing projection design, they were the first ones that sort of popped into my mind as someone who could do a really, or people that would do a really good job because of
Right.
I had really liked their style of documentary.
Mm-hmm.
And so, uh, yeah, I think the conversation between the two pieces, and then um, the restrictions that we have on the space, but also what has been able to come out of that.
Yes,
Yeah.
makes sense. And would you say that from this platform that we have for this month, because you said you wanted to have another life, that this maybe will give you an opportunity to, one, maybe keep it the same way with maybe some of the video projections, but also expanding it to be more immersive in the future, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, I will say this is sort of the first version of
Mhm.
the show. Sorry about that.
Mhm.
Oh, my partner was just checking this on me with the um yeah, because I do think this is sort of the first iteration of the presentation of
Mhm.
this show, but there is still a lot of room for it to grow when we do move into maybe having a space for a longer period of time or having more flexibility to uh, do an even crazier set um,
For sure.
or configure the room differently.
Hmm.
Although, so there's been a couple different versions of the show that I can see in my head. There's the sort of um, even crazier, not so version, where we kind of have free reign to do whatever it is that we want, but also a stripped back version that we could tour
Hmm.
easier to
Right.
different and bring it to different places.
Hmm.
Um, so this sort of sits somewhere in the
In
middle
the middle.
between.
That's nice. And I guess it goes to your point of, theater could be different things, right? It could be kind of set for a longer period, to like a longer run, or something that can travel well. And I think you've had that experience because you were part of the French festival, like at that time, and you know how that goes, right? Like you kind of have to work with what's available given the
Mhm.
space and the time. So for people who are, I'm just going to remind them, it's actually happening May 21st and it runs till the end of the month, till the 31st. So our performances kind of all through those 10 days.
It will be 8 days, so 4 days that run Wednesday to Saturday, and then the week after also Wednesday to
Another
Saturday.
Wednesday to Saturday.
We're also doing mass mandatory shows, I
Yes.
believe, the Thursday and Wednesday, which I think is a great opportunity for because they are Can 95 specific
Yes.
mass
Mm-hmm.
that people who otherwise wouldn't be able to come see the show or maybe wouldn't be able to go to a strip club. And
Oh, that's true. You can get the
yeah,
best of both worlds in one night. Thank you so much, Julie. I am mindful of our time, and thank you again. I hope to see you live very soon. And I'll make sure to stay back, just as you said. It's nice to connect at the end of a performance and let you know how we feel. So, again, the name of the show is,
never walk alone.
and it's coming up at Buddy's in Bad Times in Toronto, May 21st. Thank you again, Julie.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your time.
Of course.